Before we get started, this is my magic book. I did this project on my ancestors who came here from Italy. And this is my golden nugget. Each picture represents something about me. Why did Irish people move to America? When did they get here? Where did they live? These are all questions that you will know by the end of this presentation. Irish immigration to North America happened between the years of 1500 and 1950. Between the years of 1845 and 1850, nearly 500,000 Irish immigrants came to the United States, where they accounted for more than half all immigrants in the 1840s. Some Irish immigrants chose to leave Ireland, and some were forced to. The main reason was because of the potato famine. During the summer of 1845, a quote, blight of unusual character devastated Ireland's potato crop, which was essential to the Irish diet. In the few days after the potatoes were dug from the ground, they became rotten. It was thought that this event was caused by the smoke that billowed from railroad trains, or the vapors rising from underground volcanoes. However, it was caused by a fungus that spread from Mexico to Ireland. Famine fever soon spread through the Irish countryside. Over the next 10 years, more than 750,000 Irish died, and another 2 million left their homeland. Within 5 years, the Irish population was reduced by a quarter. A common reason why Irish people moved, however, was because Ireland experienced severe poverty even before the potato famine. Many people wanted a better life, such as jobs, for example, for them and their families. Irish immigrants came to America through Castle Garden, the country's first immigration center. It was located in Battery Park, at the tip of Manhattan. However, after Castle Garden closed in 1890, Irish immigrants were processed through a temporary barge office. Then, on January 1, 1982, the Ellis Island Reception Center opened. Castle Garden is now known as Castle Clinton National Monument. We don't know of any definite problems the Irish immigrants faced at their ports of entry. However, there are general problems that people immigrating from anywhere could have faced, such as a language barrier. Most immigrants were treated courteously, respectfully, and were free to begin their new lives in America only after a few hours at their ports of entry. Only 2% of the arriving immigrants at Ellis Island, for example, were excluded from entry. The two main reasons why this could have happened were if a doctor diagnosed someone with a contagious disease, or if a legal inspector thought that the immigrant was likely to become a public charge or an illegal contract laborer. A common problem was that many families were separated. The men were sent one way, women and children another. While many Irish people chose to settle in Canada, substantially more managed to find the physical and financial resources to reach America. Immigration to New York was the preference for nearly 500,000 Irish-born settlers. Of these, 190,000 were in New York City. More than 250,000 Irish immigrants settled in Massachusetts, chiefly in Boston, while Illinois also had a sizable population of 124,000, of which 79,000 were in Chicago.
Where did the immigrants from your country mainly move to in the United States?
Irish immigrants mainly moved to New York and Boston, Massachusetts. However, since we already know a lot about New York, I focused my project on the Irish immigrants in Boston.
What was one of the main reasons Irish people moved to the United States?
The main reason the Irish immigrants came here was because of the potato famine.
What was the potato famine?
The potato famine is the name people use to describe a time when a disease devastated Ireland's potato crops, leaving millions without food. The potato famine killed more than 1 million people in 5 years and generated great bitterness and anger at the British for providing too little help for their Irish subjects.
What ports of entry did the Irish immigrants use?
Irish immigrants came to the United States through Castle Garden, America's first immigration center. After Castle Garden closed, they came through Ellis Island. Both of these ports are located in New York. In fact, Castle Garden is now a museum.
When did most Irish immigrants move to America?
Between 1845 and 1855, more than 1.5 million adults and children left Ireland to seek refuge in America.
Were people mostly forced to leave Ireland, or did some choose to?
No, most people were forced to leave. However, some chose to. I would imagine that people came to America to have a better life for them and their families. For example, maybe they wanted to find a better job.
Why did you choose to do your project on Ireland?
I chose Ireland for my project because part of my heritage is Irish. This is from my grandmother or my dad's mom's family. I'm only a small percent though.
What are the capitals of Ireland?
The capitals of Ireland are Dublin and Belfast.
Does Ireland have any natural resources?
Yes, and they include peat, natural gas, stone, and coal.
Who were Ireland's first inhabitants?
Ireland's first human inhabitants arrived from Scandinavia via Scotland around 6000 BC. They were hunter-gatherers who spent most of their energy tracking wild animals and collecting berries, grains, and roots.
Thanks, I learned some cool facts about Ireland and its history.
During the time of the largest group of immigration to America from Ireland, around 1845 to 1850, Ireland was an agricultural country that exported food and to industrializing England, Scotland, and Wales. Most of the country was divided up into huge estates run by landlords. Small tenant farmers rented land on these estates, where they often fattened cows, pigs, or grew crops to pay the rent, and grew potatoes to feed their families. At that time, the potato famine was occurring, so many people ended up being evicted from their homes from not being able to pay the rent. Food was exported to Ireland during the famine years, but many people couldn't afford to pay for it. Help for the poor was paid for by local British taxes as well as international aid. Unfortunately, Ireland never fully recovered from the famine. Ireland is a parliamentary democracy. Dear Diary, the famine devastated Ireland, and poverty was spreading like wildfire. More and more people were becoming sick with famine fever. So my family decided to embark on the journey to a new world, known as the United States of America. We packed up as many belongings as we could, and headed off. We arrived to the huge ship that we would be journeying on. As the ship set sail, I sadly waved goodbye to the place that I once called home. The journey took around 3 months, and as each day went by, more and more people came down with diseases. Some even died before we reached America, making our ship one of the many coffin ships. I knew we had arrived once I saw a huge statue. It was Lady Liberty, holding her torch and standing tall and proud. I was very nervous as I got off the ship. I grabbed my little brother's hand, and we followed our parents as they walked towards our new life. Dear Diary, my family and I just arrived to the Ellis Island Reception Center. We were lucky that we chose this time to come, because it had just opened, and we didn't want to be processed through the temporary barge office the immigrants before us had to use. There were so many people there, speaking all different languages, that I couldn't understand. I held on to my parents' hands as they tried to navigate their way around. Just as I thought we were finished, people began pulling men out of the line we were standing in, and moving them to another line. My father was one of them. Now my mother and I were on our own. This happened to many other families. The women and children were forced to go one way. The men had to go another. Finally, after a few hours of being processed, we were free to start our new life in America, luckily together as a family once again. To be honest, I was scared. The future would be a mystery, but I knew that this was a good start.